In this video, we are going to look at how to validate that an email address ends in certain three letters, and in this case, it's going to be a .edu. A use case for this would be if you're are selling a product and it's only for people in the education space, and you will only accept users that have an email address that ends in .edu. Or in this case, maybe we've just added another field called school email address, and we'll differentiate this from the normal email address. And the school email address must end in .edu. If it doesn't, then it should not be considered school email address. Okay, so added a field of email type, and then I created a validation rule, which we'll look at. And what this does is if I enter an email address that does not end in .edu, I get an error that it's only accepting email addresses that end in .edu. If I were to do .ed, I would get that same error message, but if I correctly put in edu, then it accepts the entry. Additionally, if I have no email address here, it will accept a blank entry. So let's look at how I created this validation rule. So I'm on a contact, so I go to my object manager. Let's quick find a contact. There we go. If you're curious, this is the field I created. It is a custom field school email address, and it is of type email. It's not a required field though. Then I go to my validation rule section. So these are all of the validation rules that would be on my contact object. And if I take a look at this, this is how I made it. So I use this function called write, and what that does is it starts at the right of the field rather than the left, and it looks to see if the 4 characters from the right, starting at the right, of this field contain period, uppercase edu, period, lowercase edu, or period, uppercase e, lowercase du. So it's checking the and says, and this, or this, or this, or this must be true in order to save this record and pass the validation rule. Now the last one, this is how I allow a blank email address to get by. So if there's no value in the field, then we will accept that as well. We don't need to check that for a .edu. And so what I did here is I just said if the 4 characters from the right are blank, meaning there's no value there, that's fine. Here's my error message, and this is active. So there are a lot of different ways to do validation rules. I wanted to try out this right functionality. You could do the same one with left, like if you wanted to see if a field began with a certain characters, you could use left, and then it would start counting from the left. So that is a way we can check that the email addresses have .edu. Now, you could add to this if you wanted just to check that it's an email address of maybe .edu or .org or .com. Or maybe you specifically don't want it to be a domain like .biz. Perhaps you don't want to accept that. So then you could use the not equal to .biz. So I hope this video helps give you some inspiration on ways you can use validation rules to check that there are certain characters at the end of an email address. If you like this video, give it a like, comment, I respond to all comments, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.